Flipping Ground Bahama News is a Media Unlimited production. If you see news in the making or want to advertise, call 242-727-6909. That's 242-727-6909.
Fallen of Hurricane Dorian remembered. Schools reopen October 5th. No Conchman this year. This is Flipping Ground Bahama News for the week ending September 4th, 2020. I'm Haley Adderley. Thank you for joining us. It has been a year since the passage of Hurricane Dorian, and those fallen were remembered in the East by the Deputy Prime Minister and Member of Parliament for East Grand Bahama, the Honourable K. Peter Turnquest.
It was an emotional week for Grand Bahama and Abaco as persons remembering the passage of Hurricane Dorian that struck both islands a year ago post pictures and videos to their social media. The Prime Minister started the week off with a message.
We remember all of those who lost their lives because of the destruction and ravages of Hurricane Dorian. We continue to pray for their souls, even as we honor their memory. We remember and continue to pray for those who lost loved ones and who are still grieving. Grief is one of the hardest human experiences. We miss our loved ones with a depth of sorrow so overwhelming that it is hard to bear. We remember the survivors of Hurricane Dorian who are still rebuilding their lives and their communities on Abaco, throughout the Abaco Keys and on the Grand Bahama. We remember, and we will never forget the pain, the suffering, and the devastation from this monster storm, from which it will take time to recover on many levels. Bahamians and residents suffered life-changing injuries and mental trauma from what they endured.
On Wednesday, the Deputy Prime Minister is also the Member of Parliament for East Grand Bahama, Honourable K. Peter Turnquest, held 3 memorials remembering those persons who lost their lives and others who were recorded as missing. The first memorial was held at the Sir Jack Haywood Bridge, where also bringing a few words was the President of the Grand Bahama Port Authority, Ian Roll.
Today, we come together to honor the lives lost and mourn with the families and the community members who continue to suffer the sadness of lives taken too soon. We remember all of our family members, friends, and residents who are still displaced and struggling to rebuild their homes and lives following the storm's devastation, and we know they grieve too.
The minister then moved on to McLean's Town and then to High Rock.
1 year ago, this community, like all of East Grand Bahama, Abaco, was under the gun and suffering the devastating effects of a monster of a storm.
At all locations, wreaths and flowers were laid and prayers given by several pastors.
In a recent press conference, the Prime Minister said it was felt that the number of COVID cases were coming down and a number of relaxed measures were given.
In a press conference on Sunday, the Prime Minister, Dr. the Honourable Hubert Minnis, spoke of the new guidelines as he noted that the numbers are once again going down.
As we once again reopen a range of activities tomorrow, I would like to offer some words of encouragement and, if I may, some guidance. I invite the residents of every family island to follow the specific orders, guidelines, and restrictions in your communities. I want to offer particular caution and encouragement for the residents of Grand Bahama and especially New Providence, where the number of COVID-19 cases remain high. As we begin this gradual and phased reopening, I remind you to please follow the well-known health and life-saving measures, particularly wearing your mask, maintaining appropriate physical distancing, and staying at home when you do not need to be out. Do not let your guard down. We are still in a marathon fight against COVID-19.
The guidelines that took effect on Monday of this week include a curfew of 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. daily, shopping hours from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. with retail clothing, jewelry, shoes, or fabric from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday to Saturday, with curbside and delivery businesses allowed to open. Banks, insurance, and money transmissions open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Virtual instruction only permitted at present. Private medical care from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. inclusive of dental care. Restaurants with outdoor dining, curbside, drive-through, and takeaway from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. Public transportation allowed at 50% occupancy and taxis according to guidelines. Laundromats and laundry services 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Beauty salons and barber shops operating with one patron per service. Landscape services and pool maintenance from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Construction from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday and half day on Saturday. Fishing limited to 2 persons per vessel between 5 a.m. and 6 p.m. Commercial fishing, including trap setting and fishing for crawfish and harvesting of crabs, permitted beyond curfew hours. Religious services to be held in accordance with the protocols established by the Bahamas Christian Council. For weddings and funerals, limited to 10 persons, but receptions and repasts prohibited. For exercise, permitted at any time during the curfew hours within immediate neighborhoods or yards, except for Grand Bahama and New Providence, where they are permitted between 5 a.m. and 9 a.m. Beaches and parks are permitted from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m., subject to physical distancing protocols and limited to groups of 5, and face masks to be worn upon entering and exiting the beach areas. Social gatherings are prohibited unless for homeschool program. Prohibited businesses are spas, gyms or outdoor exercise groups, bars, discotheques, cinemas, casinos, museums, libraries, historical societies, cultural and entertainment facilities and events, cookouts, crafts, straw market vendors, jet ski operators.
We are taking a break, and when we return, budget report and schools reopening. Welcome back. According to the Ministry of Finance's fourth quarter report, despite the strain from the historic economic crisis, government continues to meet our obligations.
In a statement from the Central Communications Unit of the Ministry of Finance, it was said that the Bahamas continues to feel the impact of the worst global economic crisis in modern history, and the government is actively responding consistent with the budget plan for fiscal year 2020-21. It went on to say that preliminary data on the budget performance for 2019-2020 shows the dramatic impact of Hurricane Dorian and the coronavirus global pandemic on the fiscal performance. Also, that the deficit saw an estimated threefold increase to $788.1 million from $219.3 million in the previous year, when the government then achieved the lowest fiscal deficit in over a decade. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance K. Peter Turnquest is quoted saying, "Despite the strain on government finances, we continue to meet our obligations while playing an important role to sustain domestic economic activity. Consistent with our budgeted plans, we're disbursing millions in unemployment assistance, maintaining public service salaries, and engaging in targeted capital expenditures to support the COVID-19 response and the broader effort to restore the economy." He added, prolonged shutdowns increase fiscal risks for all governments, including our own, which is why we're closely monitoring the situation. The coronavirus is not going away, so our highest priority is adapting so that business and commerce can occur safely despite COVID-19. The domestic economy is going to lead the way with a well-considered and balanced reopening strategy. This is not only important to restore the livelihoods of Bahamians, it is important for the country's fiscal health. We're actively working on the new models and testing our assumptions to determine if, when, and where adjustments may be necessary.
The Minister of Education announced during a press conference that schools will reopen in the Bahamas October 5th.
The Minister of Education, Honorable Jeffrey Lloyd, held a press conference this week, at which time he announced,
"And we are once again planning the return of over 55,000 students from throughout our country to our classrooms. Yet this year is different. It is unprecedented, and without a doubt one that has brought about seismic changes. I believe that a country's health and prosperity is underpinned by education. The virtual learning platform is embedded in the digital evolution. I said that the digital evolution is one of the ministry's 5 priority areas to improve the quality of education in the Bahamas. In order for our remote classes to operate effectively, we must expand our Wi-Fi connectivity to all public schools. Our target is to have 100% of our schools equipped with fiber optics and Wi-Fi connectivity. And I'm happy to report that as of June 2020, 75% of the infrastructure in public schools throughout the Bahamas have been upgraded to accommodate high-speed internet services. The technology upgrades are even more significant and timely, considering the need to shift to online learning due to COVID-19.
Turning his attention to the preschool program, he said,
Our second initiative was the offer of universal quality pre-primary education for all 3- and 4-year-olds in the Bahamas by 2025. And again, I'm very happy to report that in 2.5 years, we have doubled the enrollment of 3- and 4-year-olds in an approved pre-primary educational program. This initiative was launched in 2018 with the goal of increasing the number of 3- and 4-year-olds enrolled in pre-primary programs. This has been achieved by increasing the number of free spaces available for students in public and private preschools. And through the public-private preschool voucher program, students who could not be accommodated in the public preschools in their residential area were provided with a voucher to pay for the tuition at a Ministry of Education approved private preschool.
He also announced the resumption of the national exams.
I therefore wish to inform you, and I wish to say it today, that having been given such clearance, Ministry of Education will resume the administration of the national exams beginning Monday, September 14th, 2020, and ending Friday, October 2nd, 2020.
We are taking a break and will return with national, regional, and the Money Minute.
At Media Unlimited, we want to make you a star. We help you make your own video programs, podcasts, blog, vlog, press releases, and more. Call for more information, 727-6909.
Flipping Ground Bahama News is a Media Unlimited production. If you see news in the making or want to advertise, call 242-727-6909. That's 242-727-6909.
Welcome back. The Links, a volunteer service organization of women, donated 40 new devices along with keyboards to the Ministry of Education.
The Minister of Education, Honorable Jeffrey Lloyd, received the devices and expressed his gratitude to the women, stating, "This is very good and this is what we need. If you can do something now, not books, not writing books, a device, this is your school, your library, your teachers, your classmates, and instructors." Sherilyn Smith, president of Links, said the Nassau chapter, with the support of the Links Foundation and Friends of Links, are delighted to support the virtual learning platform of the ministry in this way. A report said the donation marked the largest phase of assistance by the organization to communities impacted by Hurricane Dorian, and Phase 1 comprised the distribution of over 45,000 pounds of relief supplies to 700 families in Nassau, Grand Bahama, and Eleuthera.
In the region, Jamaica has become the first Caribbean nation to submit a tougher climate action plan under the Paris Agreement by adding targets for forestry and stepping up curbs on greenhouse gas emissions from energy.
According to a release, the UK, which will host the next UN Climate Summit in November 2021, delayed from 2020 because of COVID-19, praised the move and urged other nations to follow suit as quickly as possible. It noted that worldwide, Jamaica is the 11th nation to submit an updated plan or nationally determined contribution at the 5-year milestone of the 2015 Paris Agreement. In a quote, the Jamaican government said in a submission to the United Nations, Jamaica's new NDC is more ambitious than its previous one, outlining the new goals worked out despite the coronavirus pandemic. Jamaica is said to be a nation that was at risk from more intense hurricanes, sea level rise, and a drying trend across much of the island.
In sporting news this week, the Grand Bahama Conchman Committee had made public its decision to cancel the 34th Grand Bahama Conchman Triathelon that was set for November 7th this year.
The committee issued a press statement informing of this decision with a heavy heart, noting that this will be the first time in its 34-year history that it will not be held. They stated reason coming from the recent announcement from the government of the Bahamas that they do not expect the Bahamas borders to be opened before the end of October or the beginning of November, and the restrictions being placed on sporting events by the government. Conchman chairman Christopher Baker was quoted saying, "As is being said many times, 2020 has been an extraordinary year. Our race is very dependent on participation from other islands, as well as a very strong international following, and with the strict COVID guidelines, we have decided to cancel the event. However, the committee is tentatively planning to hold a duathlon in the spring of 2021, which they feel they can run safely and within COVID-19 regulations.
We continue with getting out of debt in this week's Flipping Grand Bahama Money Minute.
An interesting idea to help get out of debt is to do a credit card balance transfer. Most of us typically tear up all credit card balance transfers that arrive in our mailboxes. But if you want to go on a tear with your debt reduction efforts, a balance transfer can help by transferring high-rate debt to a 0% deal, one that lasts for 12 months or so. You eliminate all credit card interest. That frees up cash flow, giving you additional money to knock down those credit card bills. Just read the fine print before signing up to make sure you are really getting that low rate.
We now take you to our 7-day weather forecast. That's all for this week for Flipping Grand Bahama News. I'm Haley Adderley. Catch us again next week here on flippinggb.com, on Facebook at Flipping Grand Bahama, on YouTube at Flipping Grand Bahama Channel, or on Instagram on Media Unlimited Bahamas. To comment, like, share, and subscribe.